4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, which you can get on all podcasting platforms. And, of course, it is brought to you by the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Adam Caplan is in the house today. We were talking about this yesterday. Who's the biggest worry in the NFC? Well, we'll get Adam Caplan's post-trade deadline power rankings as they get ready for the stretch run. How do these teams stack up behind maybe the Philadelphia Eagles? We'll see who's at the top of his power rankings as the Eagles have now, and all teams, have made their final moves before the end of the season. And let's see how they all stack up here as we bring in Adam Caplan from the Inside the Birds podcast here on a Thursday edition of Football at 4. Adam, what's going on, man?
Yeah, good to talk to you. I know we usually do this Friday. So, and by the way, the Eagles won't have their injury report for a couple hours because they're practicing later, which they've been doing in recent weeks, Mike. So that just get used to the injury report coming out later. But yeah, look, I thought it was a good time to post deadline, as you said. You cannot make any more trades. You could sign straight free agents, but there's no more trading. And now we get a better look at what the league looks like. And I don't think there's a team. I mean, the Colts did, but the Colts all mortgaged the future a little bit. The Colts obviously made a super aggressive move to help themselves, and they're bad at corner, so that was a good move to get Sauce Gardner. But the Eagles had to make a significant move to get an edge rusher. It was a problem. They did that, and I think the Jalen Phillips, Mike, I'm telling you, the Jalen Phillips acquisition has a chance to be one of Howie Roseman's best at a trade deadline. He's not always done well. More often than not, he's missed on trade deadline moves, and there's a reason for that. But I really like this move, and I've got them at number 1 at 6-2. I think that right now I believe they're my number 1 team. Now, understand, Mike, before I send it back to you, the problem with the league is it's so wide open. Right when you want to back a team like the Lions, they lose. When you want to back a team like the Packers, they lose to the lowly Panthers. The Bills lose to the Patriots in Orchard Park. So it's been that kind of season.
Yeah, it's really hard to stack these teams. I mean, the difference between 1 and maybe 9 is maybe even deeper down that list. We'll see how you stack them up here. You got the Eagles, you said, at number 1. We asked yesterday our listeners which team worries you the most. You know who number 1 on that list was the Rams. Number 2 was Seattle. Our listeners are actually more worried about Seattle than some of the other teams. I was a little surprised by that. Who's the team behind Philadelphia for you?
Well, I've got the Bucs. Now, here's the thing. The Eagles handled them for 3 quarters, as you know, in Tampa. It's amazing how when you have your players, you actually could dominate Tampa. Because, the Eagles, historically, under Sirianni, they've had some bad games against Tampa, but they also had some players out. So, yeah, the Bucs, look, they're going to get Mike Evans back, they believe, before the end of the season from his collarbone injury. Now, Chris Godwin, unfortunately, he's had this fibula problem. That's a concern. They're a little bit beat up, but they're still 6-2, Mike. They've been able to weather this injury storm. I've got them at 6-2. Now, remember, this combines both conferences, the AFC and NFC. Mm-hmm. This is not, by the way, a strong year for the AFC because of the Chiefs' problems. So I don't have an AFC team in my top 2. I've got the Bucs at number 2, though the Seahawks were my breakout team. I didn't have them win division, but I had them as a wild card team this season.
All right, so Eagles, Bucs. I think some people might be surprised by the Bucs up there, but there's a lot of parity. There's a lot of guys, teams that you can all have debates on. Who do you like after Tampa Bay?
Yeah, this is tough. I thought about having the Rams anywhere from 2 to 5, but the Bills. I know the Bills lost at home to the Patriots. The Patriots have been the biggest surprise in the NFL by far. Although the Patriots, they need to prove it over the second half when their schedule gets harder. But I have the Bills here because Sean McDermott's a good coach. I know in the playoffs, they've had some problems, but we're just talking about where the teams are now post-bye. I know they didn't make a trade. They looked at a couple things. Receiver is one of them, as I understand it, but Bills is. Actually, 2. Their pass rush and their cornerback situation. They've gotten away with, they're a heavy zone team, which they've been under Sean McDermott for many years. They get away with it. Christian Benford, you might remember from Villanova, is a decent corner. Their pass rush has been a problem, and that to me is going to keep them from winning a Super Bowl. But they're still a very good team, and obviously with Josh Allen and James Cook, they could score a lot of points.
Okay, so first AFC team on the list. You got a run of NFC teams that everybody is kind of packing in that same little area there. So who's the next of the group behind Philadelphia and Tampa Bay?
Yeah, so I've got the Rams there. Look, they they handled the Eagles for three quarters. I mean, they just really handled them, beat them badly, and then Rams choked the lead. Give the Eagles credit for finding a way to come back like they did. Was incredible. The Rams are just a good team, but the Rams have not stacked up well against the Eagles. They just don't match up well because of their small front. But the bottom line is they're really well coached. They, too, by the way, have a cornerback problem. This is another team like Emmanuel Forbes. You might remember him, skinny Emmanuel Forbes. You might remember him from the Commandos, former first-round pick. It was a total miss. He's actually playing combative football for the Rams. He's a starter. It's hard to believe, but it's true. But I have the Rams at number 4, and clearly they're a good football team. They're always good. It's just can the back end of their defense hold up?
All right, this is Adam Caplan's power rankings after the trade deadline. Rams at number 4 and top 5. Let's round that out.
Yeah, this team I did pick to win their division, but I did not believe they're a Super Bowl team. The Packers at 5-2-1. They're a team that's confounding to me, Mike. How in the world could they lose? I don't see how you lose. I don't see how you lose at home to the Panthers. The Panthers can't score. Well, that's what happened. They couldn't score. But overall, Mike, when you look at this team here, the Packers, maybe the NFL's best roster, but sometimes they play down in the competition. Cowboys give up 40. Not good. They're 5-2-1. The Eagles have owned them. They'll play them Monday night. Eagles have played very well against them in recent years, as you know, since Sirianni's become the head coach of the Eagles. And I've got them number 5, and by the way, they have really some significant injury issues right now. We'll talk more about that in another segment.
All right, let's look outside the top 5 now, because didn't hear Lions in there, didn't hear Seahawks in there, didn't hear Broncos in there, didn't hear Colts in there. So let's go and check out who's next after that top 5.
Lions would have been in it, Mike. It's one of those games last week, Mike. I cannot believe that the Lions got handled. They did get handled. The Vikings did a good job on the road at Detroit, and Detroit's got some problems with the back end of their defense, which showed up. The offense, which had been humming for weeks, kind of leaked some oil last week. I'm a little bit concerned about those Lions. Now, they'll beat up on the Commandos this week, because Commandos are the most injured team in the National Football League. But, overall, Mike, I've got the Lions at number 6.
6 for the Lions. All right, I'm going to keep an eye on that one. I like the Lions. I've been a little Lions over Packers for most of the year here. By the way, our listeners yesterday thought the Lions were the 3rd team, in that they had the Packers 4th on that list. All right, after the Lions, is it an NFC team or an AFC team?
I have the Chiefs, the most overrated team in the National Football League, in my estimation, at 5-4. I don't know why the books have them as the number 1 seed, or the number 1 team at plus 550. I just don't buy it. I've got them at 7, Mike. They're another team it's hard. They're kind of confounding, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Chiefs, a lot of people thought after they had a couple wins there that they're like, oh, this Chiefs team's even better than some of the teams in the past. And then they went and lost that game last week, which, by the way, lost to the Bills. Not a terrible loss there. But let's roll down to number 8 on Adam Caplan's post-trade deadline power rankings. Yeah,
this team I felt good about. I picked them to be a playoff team as a wild card. That's the Seahawks at number 8. After that bad game for Sam Darnold to start the season, they've come on. They're playing great football. The scheme is great. Not the most talented in the world, but they execute really, really well. Sam Darnold playing phenomenal football. They're just a very efficient football team, and I like the trade to get Rashid Shaheed. They gave up a lot to get him, but they needed explosiveness. Cooper Kupp is hurt at receiver. They're really, really good, well coached, and you can make a case that we can move them up. But we saw what Sam Darnold did to close last season. It wasn't very good after having his first good season in the National Football League.
All right, I think you take a look at it so far. We've seen the Rams, the Seahawks. Now we're at number 9. Where is that other NFC West team?
I have the Niners at 9 at 5-3. If not for injury, they would probably be number 1 or number 2, but they're just so beat up, particularly on defense, Mike. Also Ricky Pearsall at wide receiver. McCaffrey's keeping in it. They're hopeful that Brock Purdy will return this week or next week. How about Mac Jones has kind of revived his career, former first-round pick for the Patriots, playing very, very well. This will help Mac Jones, by the way, for free agency.
Yeah, he could be like the next Sam Darnold that somebody says, hey, you could be our guy moving forward here. All right, let's round out the top 10 and see who has that 10th spot. Yeah,
this is one where I could have put this team anywhere. They are 7-2, but I don't believe in the Broncos. I'm sorry. They should be better in offense. I don't think Bo Nix has played all that well this season. He's been up and down. Their defense is NFL's best in a lot of statistical categories. I've got them at number 10. I just don't believe in them. Look, at 7-2, I got to have them in there, but I'm not big on this football team.
Wow, okay. Really good defense. Broncos, I have them winning the West out there. We'll see how the second half of their season goes. But you have them ahead of the South leader.
Yeah, look, the Colts have been a shocker to me. I didn't see this come. Them and the Patriots, I just didn't see it. Both are incredible stories. The Colts at 7-2, terrible loss last week. One league source said to me that Daniel Jones looked so bad last week. He looked like a rookie during the loss at the Steelers. It's the only bad game he's had this season. Their hope is that he'll bounce back. They're going to win that division. That's not in question. They're going to be a playoff team, obviously. But I got to see it. And by the way, opposite Sauce Gardner, they're still not very good at corner. Kenny Moore's a great nickel, so that does worry me a little bit. They're good, but do you trust Daniel Jones? I clearly do not.
All right, so there's 11, the Colts. Now, we keep doing our who's in, who's out every week, and we are having trouble finding 3 wild card teams from the AFC. Maybe not 3. 2 of them. 2 of them is hard to find. So let's round out the last 3 teams here on your list to see who you like to fill out these last couple slots.
Yeah, the Chargers. Look, Jim Harbaugh's a great coach. What's new? They're always hurt. Both tackles are hurt. Slater's out for the season. Alt's done. That concerns me. But they still score. If they can protect Herbert, they're going to be good. I debated what to do with the Chargers here, but their defense under Jesse Minter, he's a great defense coordinator. I'd have them at number 12.
So 12 for the Chargers. Last 2 spots here. Any more NFC teams or these 2 AFC teams?
No, I have all the NFC teams in. I've got actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got my 7.
Okay.
I have 7 that I like, regardless if they win their division or not. But 13, boy, I was hot on this team earlier this season when they had an easy schedule. Now, they had a great win the Steelers did at home against the Colts. They got to play the Chargers on Sunday night. Their defense, I'm told, the problem that they've had on the back end is their communications have been very poor with the scheme, but they played great against the Colts at 13. Now, I take the Jaguars out. I'm putting the Patriots number 14. They've been my shocker. I still believe the Bills will win the division. They'll be a wild card. I'm kicking the Jaguars out. Now, again, someone's got to win that division, that awful division. And, yeah, they'll get in because they'll win the division, but they're not one of my top 14 teams. I'm putting the Patriots at number 14. I believe reality's going to hit them. I'm worried about them in the second half. I can't believe how good they are. Boy, coaching matters. If you look at that roster, you go, how is this team so good? Well, coaching matters. It's super important. And, look, they got to play at Tampa after being home 3 weeks in a row, or 3 out of whatever their crazy schedules they've had. So the bottom line is they still got to play Buffalo. They got to still play Baltimore. Baltimore's going to get better. They got to play Tampa. So look, they're getting the Patriots will get in. They're just not. They're going to get in as a wild card. They're my 14th team.
Yeah. So you like the Pittsburgh Patriots? Those teams better than you like. It sounds like Chicago 5-3, Minnesota 4-4, Carolina 5-4. And then Dallas 3-5-1. They did make the big trade this week, so I don't know where that does for them moving forward here. But they would be the rest of the NFC teams that did not make your top 14.
Correct. Yeah. So look, it's not a bad group, but Mike, this is my thing. Before we get out of here, if you could just get in the playoffs, you've got a chance to go on a run. But because the Eagles are, knock on wood, one of their healthier teams in the National Football League, that matters. You remember last year, I think, other than Nakobe Dean, I believe he might have been the only starter out for the Super Bowl, so that helps. And Eagles had the bye, I believe, at the right time. And now we're going to see what the injury report looks like. We'll get that within the next couple hours, and we'll see what they look like post-bye injury-wise. But the Eagles are poised again. But now their schedule gets harder, Mike. But you know how good of a coach Sirianni is. So
big time. This is a very difficult stretch coming up this whole month. 4 games. You got the division game with Dallas. You got the Black Friday game with Chicago. You've got the Chargers coming up still after that. The Bills are down the line, so we'll see how Philadelphia comes out. Adam Caplan's post-trade deadline power rankings. Eagles still at the top. We'll see how it all unfolds. The final 8 weeks of the season starts tonight. Adam, thanks, man.
Thanks, you.